Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Mina. I like to share things that are magical around here. I like to think that I'm a little magical around here. If you've been here before, welcome back. Happy 2023. This is my first video of a new year. I'm on a roll. Well, we'll see about that. Anyway, to start off the new year, I would like to start by looking back on last year with my miniatures. I thought we would start this year with a miniature tour of the miniatures and the miniature kits that I made last year throughout 2022. You can see one of them kind of over my shoulder there. And yeah, they seem to be fairly popular videos. A lot of you like seeing the things that I have made in tiny form. So I thought that's what we do. And there's nothing else to say. So let's get into the video because I have a feeling this is going to be a long one. I am passionate about miniatures and I could quite literally talk your ear off. So maybe pause this video and go grab a snack and, a cup of tea or hot cocoa or something. And then come on back, tuck in, and let's get into the miniatures. The first kit that I made last year, if you know me at all, this comes as no surprise. I never got over my childhood obsession with mermaids. This is what it was intended to look like. And this was a kit. And this is what it does look like. There were a few changes. One of the biggest changes is the addition of this lovely little lady here. She's a beautiful cloth doll. Teeny, teeny, tiny. Love her. And she's like wired miraculously, unbelievably, mind-blowingly posable, bendable. I love it. Can't say enough good things about these little dolls. I get them from an Etsy seller. The name of her shop is Prairie Crocus Studio. I will link the shop down below if I can. They are fantastic quality. She sells both the kits so you can make your own doll or the pre-made dolls. I get the pre-made dolls. They would never look this beautiful if I made them myself. And I also get them painted. You can get them blank or with the face painted. I get them with the face painted because I am not good at painting faces, especially that small. So I let the artiste do her thing and I fully support it. And then I put the hair and give them clothes. I like this little added touch to these rooms. I find the rooms themselves, as awesome as they are, without a being, a pet, a person, something in them, they just feel really empty. So for that reason, in particular, I like the little dolls. Okay, the other reason that I loved this kit, besides the fact that it's mermaids, is this here. This is the dust cover, and it's been integrated into the design of this kit. So it's both a cover to keep the dust out, as well as this really beautiful, almost glass-like domed wall ceiling to this undersea bed structure, which I thought was really, really cool. Now that said, I don't love this acetate stuff. I have not found a glue that works to hold everything in place without like deteriorating the acetate and or making a mess everywhere. As you can see, I've used some hot glue in here and it's made a right good mess. I did my best. And there's some glue here. I find with the acetate what I've had the best luck with, surprisingly, is cello tape or scotch tape, clear tape, whatever you want to call it. It's really nice in that I was able to add with the tape, just slap up a little square of this clear plastic acetate packaging stuff, and it turns this porthole into like an actual window so that dust won't get inside the back of the kit, which is nice. I like to keep that out as much as possible. This is in 2 layers. So there's the outer layer and then there's like an inner layer. The inner layer, I was more of a stickler for trying to glue. So you'll see it gets pretty messy. The outer layer, it's not as well sealed. It's just taped where I could because I tried gluing, but like I said, the glue made a horrible mess. And because of that, there was supposed to be, so the first change that I made, there was supposed to be a lamp. And you can see it in the finished results. There's a lamp hanging down, but I couldn't figure out how to hang it. I initially thought it could hang from this wooden support beam, but it's supposed to be on the inside, so it would be glued to this inner layer of acetate. I couldn't figure out how to do that without making a right good mess. It was ugly as anything, so I decided to forego that light. But as you could see earlier by the battery pack and wire, there are still lights. Let's see if they will light. They can be a little stubborn. Ooh, we have lights. Sometimes these front ones don't want to glow. So there's a line of blue lights along the bottom, both sides. You can see the ones at the back reflecting at the top there. And I just think that adds such a beautiful underwater glow, which I don't think you'd be able to see as well if the light was inside. So I'm glad I made that choice. I think this is prettier. Okay, I'll turn that off for now. Some of the other biggest changes that I made were to the little seating area. That's supposed to be like a stool. I decided to use that for a table. The table that came with the kit, I didn't like the look of. I thought it was really tacky, so I just noped right out of that idea. Then it had like 2 bottles of wine or something, and that was supposed to be the wine glass. I used another bead. You can kind of see it right there. So that's a little bead that I've filled up with clay, air dry clay, and paint to make it look like a little wine glass, and then the little wine bottle. The flowers, they stayed the same. I noped out of the plate of fruit, and there's supposed to be a lamp. I tried making that and I thought it looked tacky as anything, so I noped out of that one too. That blue pillow right there, that was an extra pillow that I made using the fabric that was supposed to cover the table. And on the chair, I don't think you can see it from this angle, there's a little pillow. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there. There's a little pillow on the chair, and that's covered in the same fabric that was supposed to be the table cover. And I've used a little scrap of the bed blanket, the fur that came with the bed. I cut a little scrap and used that as a little blanket over the chair. I really liked the magazine that came with the little reading nook, so I kept that. There's some little slippers. Oh, there you go. You can get a little glimpse of one right there. They were supposed to be flip-flop sandals at the front of the room. I personally don't like flip-flops. They dig into the space between my toes and it hurts my feet. So instead of doing flip-flops, I got a little piece of ribbon, wrapped it around the sandal, and turned them into like little slides. So they might be like slippers or sandals. But I like those better. What else did I do? Oh, there's some added decoration at the top of right there, the dresser. And the only thing that was intended for the top of the dresser is one shell. Well, I put the shell up there, but I ended up putting another shell as a planter and a piece of brown beach glass. I love sneaking beach glass into my kits. Ever since the first time I did it with my bedroom kit, actually the second one I made, which I have in a video that I will post above and in the description below if you're interested in seeing that tour. bed. I love the bed. I love how it looks like a clamshell. I think that's so beautiful. Okay, so the bed I changed a little bit. All it had was like this fabric over top, and then this was just draped, and then this was just draped. So it looked like that, which was cute. I just wanted it to be, you know, usable for posing and styling a doll under. So I made this look a little bit more like bed sheets. So when she's sitting down, it looks like she's, you know, just under the cover and her bed's made. I just like that look better. There's another piece of beach glass that I snuck on the bedside table. Oh, and then I kind of changed up the stuff that was going on in here. I didn't do that exact. As you can see, this is sort of what they were going for on both sides. I found it extremely difficult cutting the fish. Those were so tiny and difficult to cut. So there's a lot more fish in the picture. Those were all I could manage. And then there's like the little clownfish right over there. Switch her around. There she's got a little shell-shaped TV, which I think is so cute. I didn't put as much on this side. And that's what it was intended to look like, and that's what I ended up going with. I stuck with mostly the purple plants. I didn't really like what these orange ones look like. They didn't really go with anything else that was going on in the room. I wanted to try and keep the colors cohesive. So that's that side. Oh yeah, the other big thing I changed was the curtain. It was intended to be blue. I think it was the same fabric that this came from. If I remember correctly, it was a bigger piece of fabric. But I didn't like what that looked like. So I went with white. I had some white broadcloth left over from another project. So I used that. And I'll put up some photos somewhere around here on the screen so you can see what it looked like before I put the dust cover on. Because I took a picture with the reading area and then with the whole thing. Because I just knew that this was going to glare like it's its job. And that is my mermaid bedroom. My next big kit of 2022 was this one. It's called Sam's Study. And it's a confusing mess, to be honest. It's called a study, which would imply that it's like a personal private space, and yet it also says bookstore and there's a sale sign. So it's like, is this someone's private study or library? Or is it a bookstore? I don't know. So I got this kit. I went into it thinking I'm going to make it a bookstore. And then that went off the rails. Yeah. I started building it and I got a little carried away with the personalization, and I had a lot of fun with that. And I decided, you know what I would also like, as well as my own bookstore? A library, an actual room dedicated to books. So that's what this ended up being. This is my tiny personal library. I was going to say I love it, but I have recently decided that there are parts of it I don't love. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so the changes that I made with this kit include, so as you can see, there's a whole bunch of shelves, and I have kept most of them. So the tall shelves in the back are there. And then I did do a couple switches with the bigger shelves. So this shelf I built and kept pretty much the same, except I put it on this side of the room. And the shelf that was supposed to go there, I decided I didn't want the magazine racks, and I didn't love that color, so I made it darker and I put it on the other side of the room. And then I decided, because it was going to be a library and not a bookstore, I didn't need this extra book display shelf. So I tore that apart and reused the pieces to make this little couch, which I have not glued in because I liked the idea of being able to move it so I can like get in there to, you know, take things off shelves, move things around, pose my doll. I like these kits for doll photography. That's another part of why I love miniatures. It's not just the building and the constructing and the being creative with it, but it's also the playing around with it after, the creating little mini scenes. It's like a whole other world, and I like treating it like that. So I didn't glue the couch down because I wanted to be able to get in there to pose stuff. So this is what the couch looks like, and it was made, you can see it's the same color as that display because it was the display. I have since decided this couch is too small and I no longer love it in this library. It is dwarfed by those shelves. I'm going to end up keeping this couch because that took me a really long time to figure out how to take those pieces and reconfigure them. And yeah, I'm really proud of how this couch turned out. So I'm going to keep it and probably put it in a different set. I also didn't like the fabric that was on the chair that came with the kit. I did keep the chair though. I just recovered it with some leftover pink leather, faux leather from a different kit. That's some like brocade. It was a scrap that my mother-in-law gave me. I really liked it. And then I just trimmed with yarn because that's what I had at the time. I would have liked something flashier, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll pull the yarn off and replace it. Maybe I'll remove the chair altogether and replace it. I don't know. I've decided I don't know if I love the chair either. Because again, it looks pretty tiny compared to everything else. So I think I might remake this chair. But I will keep this chair because other than the trim, I still really like it. There was a ladder, which I really liked, but even more so, if this was going to be my own personal library, I have always wanted one of those sliding ladders. I just built essentially half the ladder, put a couple beads, just some black beads on the bottom to be like the little caster wheels, and then I fandangled some hooks with just some scraps of wire from another kit. And again, this is another scrap of wire from another kit that I have attached on this end and on that end of the bookshelves. And then the ladder can slide, which I think is really cool. The little shelf here is exactly the same. I kept it the same color with all the same hardware and put it in the exact same spot. I just changed what it was used for. In the kit, they had even more books inside, but I don't just want books in my perfect library. I want collectibles as well. So I have collectibles. And let's see if we can get close enough. On the bottom shelf there is a golden snitch and a golden onion from Twilight. Those were just made with chocolate wrappers. Oh, and the golden snitch is on a little like display thing, which was made out of a paper clip. On the middle shelf, I had this little dagger that came with a Loki figure. So I made a little wooden display case, or a display stand thing for it. And that's just some little scrap pieces of wood. And then on the top shelf, I have a little key. That was a charm from a bracelet, and that's for the secret garden. And then a little, like a jump ring, again, something from a broken piece of jewelry, and that is the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. And this was supposed to be glued shut, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of glare. You can see the floor reflected in that acetate. So I added a little bit of magnet so you can open the door and get a better view of the little things inside. So One, I can't remember which one. One of these tables came with the kit, and one of them was built with leftover pieces from a different kit. I don't remember which is which. The plants, that was as intended. This one was as intended. There's another plant right up here. I love this one. This is leftover greenery. And then the planter is just like a little plastic cap with paper twine. I wrapped the paper twine around to make it look like a wicker basket, and then stuffed a bunch of this greenery in and had it hanging down so it looks like a creeping vine plant or something, which I thought was pretty cool. I added some candles. Those are separate from the set, and both this candle and that candle contain real wax. So in theory, if I wanted to, I could light this and it would burn. This little candle is a bead with a piece of string stuck through it, and then the top is just painted black to make it look like the candle had been burnt. The little coffee cup and the pictures, these are all as intended, except this picture here is actually a picture of my cat. I just took a picture off my phone and shrunk it down. Now, how I shrunk everything, and I have a whole bunch of books. I'll walk you through some of the books in just a minute. Okay, so I had a piece of paper, and it was basically like the size of this booklet with all the books. What I ended up doing with those pages is I just scanned them into my computer, and then in a separate paint program, like in a separate paint window, I scanned the books, or I found covers online, and then shrunk them to the same number of pixels as the scan that I had taken of the books that came with the kit. I hope that makes sense. I'm not really good at explaining this. I don't really understand how I did it myself. But anyway, so yeah, that's how I got the picture. So I just shrunk it down after I figured out what size these were, and then I just made that the same size. I ended up keeping, that's an original picture. I don't know if you can tell it's a kitty cat. I think that's adorable. These are all original pictures, which I think were kind of weird, because if this is a bookstore, I mean, this one's kind of cool. They're all hard to make out. They look like they've been scratched, so I don't know if that's like an intentional art style, or if they're supposed to look like they're like antiques or something. I'm not sure. But this, it took me some time to like stare at them all and figure out what they were. What I've deduced is that this one looks to me like a brown-skinned woman in a white dress, kind of lounging on the grass. This one here appears to be a pale-skinned woman wearing a big white hat with her hair in front of her face, like holding a book. And this one, this is a nude. A woman from the waist down walking on tippy toes. You don't see many nude photos in bookstores. I mean, I'm not saying anything against that. I think all bodies are beautiful, and everybody's naked is beautiful. And, nudes are like classical art. It just struck me as weird for a bookstore with a very large children's section. This one here was just a generic map. I decided to shrink down a map of the Shire instead, because I identify as a hobbit. And then I used some little, on the back of calendars, they'll have like the little pictures of, like all the months. So you can see what all the images are going to be in the calendar. And that's where I found these. These are just empty boxes. That was part of the kit. Now let's get into the books, because this is the most exciting part. So some of these are books that came with the kit. I kept, like, some of these are, they're like paper boxes basically, and you just like fold them and then stick them in here. There's nothing more to them. They're just like fronts. So they're not individual books or anything. But some of them I really, really liked the look of. This is an example of one of the books that came with the kit. and it just says book. I don't know what this cover is supposed to be. It looks really familiar. If you know, comment below, let me know. But this is, they all said book. And like, oh, there's one. It's like fancy writing and it's on its side, but that says book. And that's what they all said. And it gets tired after a while. So I ended up printing a bunch of my own, and I scanned a bunch of my own books. So some of them I got, like, these are beautiful editions of books that I either already own or I wish I owned. These are really cool. These are not books that I own, but I found a bunch of, let's see, well, that one might be stuck. Okay, this one comes out though. That whole shelf, miniature books on miniature building. I thought those were so cool. On this shelf, I have, those are Babysitter's Club books. This is like a paper box. So it's just a picture of the spines. They're not actual individual books. But I had to include Babysitter's Club because I loved those when I was a kid. I collected them. These ones are the old yellow Nancy Drews. I used to read those when I was a kid as well. I have since gone back and read them, and boy howdy, are they problematic. Ooh, the racism and misogyny is strong in that series. For nostalgia's sake, I do have some really good memories of reading those books. Not necessarily the stories themselves, but sharing the books with friends and reading them at camp and that kind of thing. So I have those there. And then this shelf in particular this is like a replica of my shelf at home. I have Jane Eyre, Hunger Games. This one is really cool. I don't know if you're going to see this, Liz, but it's your book in miniature. This is my good friend Liz's book, Break for Beauty. It's her poetry anthology. And there she is, a teeny tiny photo of my good friend. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I have a friend who's a published author, so I had to include her book in my little miniature library. Now I'm going to push all the other ones back. Well, there's Norse mythology. I love that one. And maybe I'll just pull these out because it's easier to put them back in when they're all together. There's a Testament of Loki. Those scans turned out really good. And The Secret Garden. Twilight. These ones I love. They're all individual. I have all 8. I'm only going to pull one of them out, though. It's the Anne of Green Gables box set. That one is the first 3 of the Miss Peregrine's books. Those are the only ones I've read. I've heard they're up to like 5 now, but the 3rd one ended so well, I don't know if I want to continue. There's my Harry Potters. Problematic author. I can't abide by that. I can't fault anybody for liking the books and the movies. They were special at the time. They still hold special places in people's hearts. I still read them, and I still love them. Do not support JK, though. So, that's... yeah. Then I have my Sailor Moon books. All the mangas, however you pronounce that. I don't care either way. I'm not a stickler. What else? Lord of the Rings. And underneath, I have a little basket. This was supposed to be a little basket of like maps and wrapping paper and stuff like that. Instead, I have a little blanket, which is just some scrap fleece from a hoodie that I made. Oh, up at the top, I have a couple of hat boxes and my beach glass, which I love including. This hat box, the lid actually lifts up. I was going to put something in there, but I haven't yet. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. These ones are pretty cool. I found a lady online who makes these, and she's put them out in PDF form. You can print out all the books, and it comes with everything you need. The covers and all the pages. So like this one here is a millinery book from the 1920s. And it comes with like the cover and a little binding title thingy, a cover picture, all the insides. You can actually like open them up, and they're way too tiny to read, but they are beautiful. Dressmaking, again from the 1920s, with some gorgeous patterns and pictures, information on like trims and stuff. I've never tried to actually read it. I don't know if you could, but even at this size, you can still behold the beauty of it. They're so pretty. And then I saw this one, which I thought was really cool. While I was making this kit, I was watching a lot of Abby Cox videos, and at the time she was talking a lot about dangerous liaisons. I believe there was that around the time that she went and saw the costumes, I think, at a museum? Anyway, I found this within all the books that this lady had, and this is Les Liaisons Dangereuses. I'm probably butchering that. I apologize. I do not speak French well. I don't speak English that well either. Anyway, it's the costuming from the stage production of Dangerous Liaisons. So there's like the illustration and then a photo from the stage. Illustration, photo from the stage, which I thought was really, really cool. And the other one of that set I have are, this one I have tied, just because I'm not sure what I did wrong with the binding, but they don't want to stay closed. So I've tied this one, but I think it looks kind of cute. Rogue glue on there. These are Heinz Holbein's portraits. Isn't that incredible? They're so tiny. King Henry VIII, the artist. I thought that one was really cool. And then in this style, because I really, really liked how those turned out, I'm making a huge mess. I made two more because I wanted to make smaller books. Like these are really cool and they fit. I put them sideways. I really like these books in particular. When I saw that, I knew I wanted to put them in my library. They look similar in size and shape compared to the rest of the books, like Patterns of Fashion, which is it's a series of books. There's like, I'm most familiar, I learned about it at the time of like Patterns of Fashion 5, I think it just came out. But basically they're like historical reference books with fashion patterns from historical periods and like information on how to make the patterns and drafting and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I really liked those books, but I wanted something that I could fit because I had some extra space. So I made my own art book for Van Gogh, or Van Gogh, however you want to pronounce it. He is my favorite artist, so I have little pictures of his works in here. And then I made, where'd it go? There we go. The Art of Mina. That's me. And then inside, some of my artwork, my first commission, and pieces inspired by songs, some splatter paints. Yeah, so that's basically the books. Oh, there's still more. Something else I really wanted in my tiny personal library is a coping kit. Now, a coping kit is basically a little basket, bin, box, bag, whatever, of items that help you cope when you are in mental distress. So whether you're fighting off a panic attack, in the depths of despair, whatever, these are things that help. So I used, this was supposed to be wrapping paper, but I formed a box with it and gave it like a glazed look. So it looks like a plastic box with tape. And then inside, I'm going to dump these out and show you individually. We have a journal, and I've drawn some little things, baby steps, mind's eye, a semicolon, and then the rest of the pages are blank, presumably to be drawn on later. There's also a fidget spinner. I made this with some air dry clay, a little piece of wire in the middle, and then this is a nail sticker, and it moves, which I think is kind of cool. Then I have a tiny little jar, and I have filled it with little air dry clay mints, because sour things, minty things, just hard candy, something you have to suck on in general, can help keep you in the present moment and ground you in reality when you're not doing okay. So I have my little jar of mints. I have, oh, almost forgot, a pencil to go with that journal. It has a little air dry clay eraser, and the pencil itself is made out of a toothpick. And I have a poppet. It's only one-sided. It's flat on the other side because it's way too, oh, it's tiny. But I made this out of air dry clay. Teeny tiny little pom-pom. This is supposed to be like a little squishy. Teeny tiny little bead, which I have painted about half of with nail polish, left the other half. And this is supposed to be like a little oil roller ball. Something important that I have found with coping kits is to have something for each sense to help with grounding. So we have like the poppet would be like sound, the squishy would be touch, and then we have taste with the mints, and smell with the rollerball, which I can't get to now, and then sight could be, well, any of the things in there you look at. So that's got your senses covered. The last little thing that I can think of, I don't think I've missed anything. I could talk about this clearly for hours. So the last little bit in this is my favorite little shelf, and that is the games. A little game shelf there. I have made a little Simpsons Game of Life, only because I couldn't find the original Game of Life. I just printed out the cover image from a box, and then this is just some extra cardboard. I don't remember where it came from, but it's just scrap of cardboard. And this is glued on, so it's just for show, but it still looks pretty cool. Then I wanted a checkers board. I just think checkers in a library is perfect, and I have fond memories of like playing checkers with my grandpa and my husband, and now with my kids. So I really wanted a checkers board. So I've got two pieces of wood that are same size and come together to make like a square. I printed out a checkers board, pasted on one side, and then cut down the middle so it can fold. And I have glued, or I taped sellotape, clear tape over top, not all the way on one side, but all the way on the other, so it's got like a hinge. And on one side we have the checkerboard, and the other side it's all set up and ready for a game. And it can fold up to be put away, which I thought was really cool. And this This is my magnum opus. This is the coup de grace, my Clue game. I freaking love this. So I was able to find, this is the original from like the 1970s Clue board, or the box. This is the image that I grew up with. This was my favorite game as a kid. I loved Clue. It was one of those games, whether I won it or I lost it, I loved it. It was so much fun to play. I loved everything about it. I loved the campy artwork and just the whole premise. Yeah. So I used some of that same cardboard for the bottom, and the top is just paper with the image printed on it. But the best part about this one is that it opens, and inside is a game board, and that is the original 1970s Clue game board. Love that. And then all the pieces, or as many pieces as I could. So I have, again, these are all the original 1970s game pieces. The rooms, the weapons. Where'd they go? Oh, this is the pad of paper that you would use to fill out as you're playing the game. The people. And then at the very bottom, these were the things that were too small. All of the game pieces, the die, weapons, the little confidential envelope. These things were too small. I just got a picture of them and glued them at the bottom. But I think that's so cool. I have all my pieces to my Clue game. In teeny tiny form. Oh, the child in me is so happy. Okay, now that I've made a right good mess of this, the last thing to mention is the lighting. Originally, this kit intended one lamp, which I made. Mine's a little bit different. It's not quite as ornate, but it's basically the same as what was intended. And this is really cool because underneath is the battery pack, and there's a little spot to stick it. So, as I have probably mentioned ad nauseum, the wires pull on a lot of these kits. So when you can find one that has a spot to put the battery pack, brilliant. Love it. Okay, I don't know if it's going to work or not. Might not be able to see it anyway. Yeah, it's kind of working. Probably too bright in the studio, even with the light off. Yeah, you can kind of see the glow there. And then it's out. Oh, and the... Okay, well, that cinched it. So, the doll that I got to go in this kit is this one. I am not familiar with her. It's not from a show or movie or whatever that I'm familiar with, but I thought she was really cute. Super tiny and really poseable. She's got like double jointed knees and elbows. So I thought that was really cool. I'd be able to get her to sit. Probably notice yeah, I had to Frankenstein her a little bit. She was too tall. So I cut chunks out of her thigh and glued them back down so she was a little smaller. But even at this size, there's not much. Okay, it actually is much better at this size. But if I want to pose her like on the ladder climbing up, like, hi, it's right there. Basically what happened is this was a really complicated light. And you had to check it at like every single point. So when you put the lights in here, you had to check. When you combine them all together, you had to check. Then when you combine them further, you had to check. And at every single step, I checked the lights on the battery and they worked every single time. Until I glued it in the kit and went to attach it to the battery pack. Then it stopped working. And it was so frustrating. I had my father-in-law come and look at it, and he found out that the wire connecting, so all the connections that I had made were perfect. It was the connection at the battery box that was loose, and he accidentally disconnected one of the wires, but there was evidence that it hadn't even been like soldered to the connection point, so it wouldn't have stayed anyway. One tiny little pull and it was coming out. So yay! I had to get a new battery pack and rehook everything up, and it still doesn't always work. All that work for nothing. Anyway, but now that I see what the doll looks like with, it's too in the way. I don't know that I love it. So maybe while I'm remaking the chair and another chair, because I think a couch would be too big. But anyway, I think what I might end up doing is maybe making a different light that's like higher up, because I still have light bulbs and I still have lots of wire and battery packs now, because my husband had to buy a new battery pack and ended up getting like a pack of 5 or something. So we shall see. This one was done and now it's not. This is what building miniatures can be like. They're never quite done. Just like your room. You get a new book, you have to like rearrange the bookshelf to put it in, or you get a picture and you have to like figure out where to put it. And so just like rooms in your house can change, these miniatures aren't always build them, seal them, leave them forever. Sometimes they change. And this is one of those that is constantly changing. I also made this Barbie dollhouse room, which is just in photo and not live, because my daughter has already swooped in and taken it to play with. But that's okay, because that's probably the best use for these things, especially since the shelving I have is full and more storage is needed. So better to be played with than destroyed or shoved somewhere where it will probably be destroyed. Anyway, I won't go into detail about this room because I have 2 videos that go into detail about how I made it, and I will link those in a card above and down below if you would like to check those out. I would highly appreciate it. I've heard they're pretty good, if I do say so myself. The last miniature that I made last year was my beautiful haunted house, which was a Dollar Tree dollhouse transformation. I have a video on this one, so I won't go into detail in this video. I will link it in a card up above and in the description down below if you would like to see this beauty's video. Highly recommend. It was a good time. And there you have it, lovelies. Those were all of the miniatures. Well, most of the miniatures. There were a couple that I made that I decided not to talk about here because reasons. But I have shared them over on Instagram, so if you want to check those out, in particular, the little Christmas display and my year-end, reading or books read commemoration, however you want. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. Anyway, if you want to check those out, they are over on my Instagram. I am Mina'sMagic over there. Highly recommend that you go and check those out. Otherwise, that's what I made in 2022. Didn't make a ton of miniatures. The ones that I made were pretty complex though, and did take quite a bit of time. And yeah, now it's time to get started on 2023's miniatures. I already have 3 that I have to get, and that's not even all of them. There's some junk rooms that I want to make as well. So yeah, I have to get started now because it's looking like 2023 is going to be my year of tiny things. If you enjoy seeing my miniatures, then please give this video a like. Let me know. If you are interested in maybe a build along, maybe I can set up the camera and build these, you know, on camera, and you can see sort of how I do it, my process. Oh, that's going to be a headache to edit, but you know what? If I get enough interest, then maybe I'll do it. So give me a like, comment below. Let me know if you're interested in that. And yeah, that could be some interesting content. Maybe we'll keep the miniature train rolling. Get it? Because it's miniature. Okay, I'll see myself out. Thanks so much for watching, lovelies. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy 2023. I hope this year is gentle and precedented for all of you. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Until then, take care. Stay fabulous. Bye.